Hello and welcome back to the Defining Success podcast. Today, my guests are Grace Bamburg and Kylie Klunder, who were members of the Disney College program, I think a year ago. Was it last year or was it a little longer? Either
Uh,
way.
yeah.
And yeah, and they really enjoyed their time and I think they were successful at what they went to go do. So, hi guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Nate.
So I want to start off this podcast by asking both of you the same question, and that is, how do each of you define success?
Yeah. Kylie, do you want to start?
Sure. I think that success, this is pretty cheesy, but is wherever you're happiest. And I think that to define that happiness and success, it just is when you're at a place in your life where you'd rather be nowhere else. You're right where you feel like you should be.
Nice. Grace?
That's awesome. I also agree with that. And I would say for me, like, it's a lot about balance of like, yes, like working really hard for your goals and like taking action on what you want for the future, but also like just a lot of gratitude for like the moment. And for me, what I want and my goals are constantly like evolving and changing. So just anything that I can do to make my like the present moment positive is a success for me. So
Nice. I like both of those answers. And I guess it's a good segue into my next question, which is, did you guys feel like you found that success that you just defined when you were going through the Disney College program?
Yes,
Um,
100%.
Explain.
Grace, you can start.
yeah, I the Disney College program was honestly the best time of my life. I grew up in Kansas, so moving down to Florida and being around such positive people who like were just so encouraging of big dreams and like adventures. It was just my present moment was constantly pretty good while I was down there. So I definitely say so.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I would agree with what Grace said. I think the biggest thing while we were there is that every other person that we lived with or worked with had this like bigger than life personality where they just wanted everything in the world, had big dreams, and we all kind of had the same mindset where we think, oh, if you can dream it, you can do it, Walt Disney. But, whereas, like, I grew up in Michigan where Nate grew up, but I feel like a lot of people here are more like, you grow up, you go to college, you get a regular job, you get married, you settle down. Whereas when I went there, I felt like I could do anything that I wanted to, even if that was my option, move back and settle down or whatever. But
Right.
I think that that was the really cool part about it.
So, did you feel that too, Grace? Because I feel like even as a guest, I feel like when you're at Disney, a lot more is possible than when you're not. So, is working there, is that the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely felt that way. It's something about it. Like, if you're the type of person that does the Disney College program, that's going to be a special type of person that does feel like they can take that time to do that because they really love it and they love Disney. You know what I mean? So it just creates a very interesting dynamic between the people that you meet there. And everyone's really positive because Disney is making them so happy, most of the time. So I definitely felt that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess my question was when I first found out you guys were doing that was how different is the experience of like when you go into Disney as a cast member compared to when you go in as a guest?
Um, Sorry, can I start, Grace?
Yes.
I think that it depends on your role and stuff. Me and Grace had totally different roles. I would describe Grace's as a little bit more fun than mine, actually a lot more fun than mine, but I still loved my role. Um, and there's just this different environment. So when you are a cast member, your goal is to make magic for other people. Whereas
Mhm.
when we went in as guests as well, when we're not working,
Right.
we still have to like keep the Disney brand and not do anything crazy, obviously, but when we went as guests, it was more like I want to experience the magic. But I personally think it makes the experience as a guest even more exciting because we kind of know what's going on behind the scenes. We're a little bit more appreciative of different things. I would say that we show a little bit more respect to other cast members than regular casts, which
Yeah.
makes it kind of a positive experience. But yeah, and behind the scenes, like, I don't know. I will say there's like some things that aren't as like pretty, but you see
Right.
the effect that it has on the guest. So you can see like your hard work paying off for the guest, and you kind of can, I don't know, it makes it worth
Yeah.
it.
Well, because like anything else, still a job. So
Yeah.
making it, but when you go into Disney, it doesn't really feel like anybody's working. So they do a good job of making sure the cast members are, I guess, hiding the fact that they're working. But did it feel like you guys were working when you were working?
Yes, for sure. I remember they explained it at traditions as like it's hard to see other people play because, when you work there, you love Disney so much. And after being there for so long, you get so good at Disney. Like, you know exactly where to go, the best spots to see, like all that stuff. So when I was working, it was like I always wanted to be like, oh, I wish I could go out and go to the parks because you're there, but you have to stay. But it's still like a cool experience because it's like you're creating that magic for others and you get to see directly the impact of what you do on other people's happiness. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you do feel like you're working for sure. It's
I
a hard job.
had two different jobs there. One of them was in the resorts and one was in the parks. Grace worked in the parks all the time. So I will say that that changed how it felt like when I was working in the parks. I actually disliked it a little bit more just because it's way more chaotic. And you have to like be on your toes more because obviously there's more people there. Um, but I felt a little bit more like I was working for Disney because I don't know, if I was closing at Animal Kingdom, I could look at the Tree of Life lit up with like the show and I could hear the music from Rivers of Light. Um, Whereas when I was working in the resorts, it's a little bit distant from the parks. I could see like fireworks from Magic Kingdom, but they were like off in the distance. Like it was still cool, but it felt a little bit more like, oh, I'm just working at like a hotel. Like I couldn't really feel like I was working at Disney World sometimes. Um, but I had a really random I worked in merchandise at the resorts, but there was like a 2-hour shift that you'd work at the pin cart, which that I didn't feel like I was working at all. I just felt like I was talking and playing pin trading with a bunch of little kids, which was really fun. So, different parts of your job, they rotate you as much as possible so that you don't feel like you're just working all the time,
Right.
that you get to play a little bit in your job.
That makes sense. Did
Hmm.
you like, I guess when I think about the Disney College program, I would immediately think I would be put into the parks, but like you just said, that's not necessarily true. So, were you aware when you guys signed up that there's a possibility you work in a resort or outside of the parks away from what you might be thinking you're signing up for?
When I first heard about the Disney College program, I thought it was just you work at Disney World, and I had only gone there as a kid, so I didn't even really acknowledge that there was different parks. But I had two friends that did it a year before me, and neither of them were in the parks. They were in Disney Springs and um, one of the resorts I can't remember, but neither of them were in the park, so I knew that was a possibility when I applied.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And when you get your role as well, it kind of gives you a hint because, like, for me, I was attractions. So I knew that I would be in the parks, like, pretty 100% sure. I mean, there's like few roles that you can have that are not in the parks if you're attractions. But, like, for Kylie, who had merchandise, she knew that she could be at Disney Springs or at the parks or at the resort. So, also, like, your role will give you a little bit of a hint.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what drew each of you to the Disney College program to apply to do it?
Grace, you can go
Um,
first.
Well, I love Disney World a ridiculous amount. But I also, when I was going into the program, my goal was to work for Disney Hyperion Publishing House. And everyone told me that the Disney College program was the best place to start in the company. So that was kind of like where I was coming from with the career goal. But I also just really loved Disney and wanted to be, in the parks and doing all that stuff. So that's what drew me to it.
I, on the other hand, was not obsessed with Disney. I like grew up watching Disney Channel and like Disney movies, obviously, but I had only gone to the park one time as a kid. and I don't remember it at all. Um, but one, as I said, one of my friends at school did it, and I thought it just kind of sounded cool. And she was a hospitality major, so it like made more sense for her. And I visited her, and I just went as a guest to Disney World for my first time that I remember. And I thought, wow, this is magical. I want to live here and I want to do this. I don't care how. I'm a math major. There's probably not a way for me to do this. So I literally just took a semester off of college and went there just to have fun. Like, I truly mean that. I think it's successful when you're just happy, even if it doesn't make sense career wise. Um, but I had a riot. I now am obsessed with Disney. And I will also say that I have always had like a passion for like sports and media. So it
Mhm.
was actually just kind of like a plus that once you're in the Disney college program, you all of a sudden have like an like a path to ABC, ESPN, Disney, Disney Channel. Like once I realized that, I was like, wow, this is even better than I thought. So,
Yeah. That I mean, I feel like anybody who goes to Disney World is gonna think like this is super magical. But what is it about Disney for each of you that gives you, I guess, inspiration or makes you feel the way that you just described? Because even for me, as somebody who obviously I'm in film and everything, but like the essay that got me into my school and got me my scholarship was about Walt Disney. And so like I'm the same as both of you. Kylie, you now, but Grace, you said you were into Disney for a long time. Of like there's something about it. What do you think that is?
I think for me, I'm just a really nostalgic person and I love, I'm a writer, so I love storytelling and just the combination of me loving nostalgia and also and growing up on the Disney movies and loving the characters and like connecting with the characters and everything and also just my love for the storytelling of it, it just made me really appreciate Disney so much. And, I'd also grown up going to the parks, not all the time, but like occasionally. So that definitely played a factor in my appreciation for like the theme parks themselves, like even more than just the films. So yeah, there's just nothing like it. Like there really is nothing like it. So
Yeah, I agree
um,
with you there.
there is nothing like that. I agree. I would say that obviously my opinion shifted after living at Disney World. Prior to the Disney College program, my like connection to Disney was Disney Channel, which might seem light to some people, but I was like, I've always wanted to be an actress. So I would watch these TV shows and these movies, and I still to this day cry when I watch the Hannah Montana movie, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dreams, like that idea. But once I started living at the parks, I think that it's the dreams coming true aspect. I've always had big dreams for myself. And every ride, every resort, every room that you stay in at Disney is going to somehow tell you, it's going to somehow tell a little kid or an adult person or someone our age that they can come in, their dreams can come true, and that you are the key to unlocking your own magic. And we heard that every single day. And I got to say, if you hear something enough times, you're brainwashed, you believe it. So, in a good way, you're brainwashed in a good
Right.
way. But I already went in there with like huge dreams. And then I left thinking, wow, I can accomplish whatever I want. So, I really like that. Walt Disney himself, every single person knows who Walt Disney is. And if you hear his story, it's pretty simple. He just was like a cartoonist, which you would never expect someone, a kid, drawing cartoons to be this huge success someday. And look what he did. So clearly anything's possible.
Yeah, I think he in particular has a big part in why I like Disney so much because I think
Hmm.
he took like the popular, I guess not so popular, but the successful people's philosophy of the law of attraction and think and grow rich and everything, and he packaged it in a way that everybody can consume. And even I guess is it their theme song, but like when you wish upon a star, like that
Yeah.
song is literally about manifesting your dreams or your wants and desires. So I think
Hmm.
that's a attractive philosophy, and he found and then the company afterwards found a awesome way to package it for tons of people to take in. So,
Mhm.
what was your favorite part of working at the parks?
I loved magic moments for sure. It was always really special when, my manager would tell me like, okay, we don't need you anywhere, like just go make magic. And I would just get to go out and like, do special things for people. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the certain things that we were able to do, but it was really cool. That was my favorite part of working. Like, what other job would let you go do that? Just go make people feel special. You know what I mean? Random people, just go make them feel special. So that was my favorite part.
My favorite part was just like the childlike energy that we were supposed to bring to the table, and it just made everything a lot more fun. I would also say that the magic moments are the best part. I hate to toot my own horn, but I made a lot of adult people cry because I like to do magic moments for adults a lot because I feel like the kids get it a lot in the parks. So when they'd come to the resort at the pin cart, I would give a pin to an adult and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, Figment meant so much to me growing up and you just gave me a Figment pin," and just like cry, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like you don't realize that little things really have like an effect on people. I'd also say that working at the parks, one of the perks was also that we knew all the secrets. We knew what time to go on what rides so that we had to wait the least amount of time.
Mhm.
Um, we had some friends that were working the fast pass line, so we would be able to go through the fast pass line, little things like that.
Right.
It really adds to your experience for sure.
It
Yeah.
does.
Did it change you guys to, you were saying earlier, Kylie, to hear what they were telling you every day? It affects you because you're hearing it every single day and you start to believe it. Do you feel different than you did in even just in a minor way before you did the program? And what's different?
Yeah, I feel significantly different. I know this is kind of funny, but I even noticed when I looked at like my Instagram feed from before and after, like I could remember posting them and not really caring. Like I was just like, I'm having the time of my life and I'm just going to post about it. I'm not caring what people think about me and what I'm doing. Like I'm truly living my best life. As Grace said, that was the greatest time of my life. I also think that it made me a kinder person in general. If you're trained to speak kindly to every single person
Yeah.
in the most bubbly, magical way, you're going to go home and speak that way to a lot of people too. And I will say I take offense to things a little bit more now because the rest of the world's not as nice as Disney World. But I think that I just became a more positive person. So I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Kylie. Like, I feel more excited about the future. For me, Disney set my life on a completely different path from when I went there. Um, I now want to go back to Disney and work for Disney again, and I didn't really feel that way 100%. I was more into the publishing industry. So it set my life on a different path, but like more in the everyday, it does really affect, you know, your appreciation for like other people, especially people who are working and helping you. Like even just like when I go to a restaurant, I just like have much more appreciation because it does really feel, Disney, like appreciating the Disney cast members makes you appreciate like everybody who's working in these kind of smaller jobs that are working really hard for you. So
So what do you want to do at, you said you wanted to work for Disney again. What would that look like?
yeah, I would love to do a Disney PI, which is a professional internship, and hopefully do something with Disney social media. So that was another thing down there that really changed for me is I got a lot more into social media than, I had been before. And it kind of solidified my passion for it. So I would love to go back to Disney and work for Disney social media in some way.
Nice. Kylie, what has Disney done for your future goals? Has it changed it at all, or do they apply to your future goals, the skills you learned there?
Yes, very much so. I also would love to work for Disney again. I just graduated from college this spring, class of 2020, woo woo. But I realized, oh, I have to find a job. And I graduated with a degree in mathematics and business marketing. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I really want to do that with my life. I, as I said earlier, have always had a passion for acting. And I would say that at Disney, a lot of people also have that dream. We had a lot of friends that were character performers, and that was their job in the Disney College program, was to be an actor in the parks.
To be friends with a character.
Yes, friends with a character. So I think that that would be cool. If I were to go back, I would audition for something like some type of performing role, and hopefully that would be like temporary, and then I could continue my acting career. On the other hand, though, I am looking at professional internships as well, because there are a lot that have to do with like data analytics. But I would consider that my backup plan, and the acting my first plan.
Nice.
Yes.
I just watched on Disney Plus. They just came out with like a video showing all the work that went into Disneyland, the first one. And
Imagineering.
yeah, is that still a job? You
Yes.
probably know better than me.
Yeah,
Imagine.
Imagineers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they do?
And there's professional internships for Imagineers. Those are some of the ones I'd apply to because I'm a math major. So
Mhm.
physics, math. But
That seems super. That's something I feel like I would love doing. Waking up every day and designing things
yeah.
for the park.
Well, it's not, yeah, they have like a huge team. All Imagineers are like a total, there would be someone like me that has a math and physics background, and a person like Grace who has a storytelling background, and they work together to make a ride. Like, for instance, whenever they redo a ride, like when they redid the Tower of Terror at Disneyland into the Guardians of the Galaxy, they had a whole team, not so much the engineers because the ride was already constructed, but more of the storytelling team change the face of the ride and like what the experience was. So they're always changing the rides. So the Imagineers are always constantly working, and it takes years to
Is
change
that
a ride.
is that something either of you guys would want to do ever?
I would love that.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Yeah, right?
We're aiming lower first, I guess, but you're right. That is the ultimate dream, to be an Imagineer for Disneyland or Disney World. Wow.
Yeah. So, Grace, you have a Instagram page pretty much dedicated to Disney, and it's pretty successful. What did you create that before or after the college program?
Yeah, I created that before the college program, but it was when I had known that had gotten into the program. So I like made it with the knowledge that I was going to be going down there.
Gotcha. And what's is that just your passion for Disney carrying over to your passion? Again, you said you wanted to get into social media. Is that where that comes from?
Yeah, definitely. Like before I went down to Disney, I had done a lot of social media with like books and like reading recommendations, and I had like a bookstagram and a YouTube channel where I talked about books. And I knew I wanted to do that for Disney too. So it really was two passions merging, and yeah, I'm really thankful for it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've been following it since I met you, and it's fun to see you, especially now because
Oh,
I can't go to Disney because I don't live in Orlando anymore and COVID and everything. It's good to see the flash from the past of Disney.
Well, I love it because she always posts pictures of me. So I'll get the tag and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this time. Oh, I remember this time. Just constant Disney photos.
Right.
It's at Grace Neverlands, if anyone wants to know.
Do you guys went to Grace, you went with Kylie when they did Disneyland, right?
yes, yes.
What's
I turned 21 on that trip.
I
nice.
turned 21 and
In Disney.
Disneyland does not serve alcohol.
They don't?
No.
Yeah.
How many
California, what is it? California Adventure
Yeah.
does, but we were at Disneyland the entire
Oh,
day.
okay.
So
Yeah, I've lived in LA for 6 months and I still haven't gone. I need to go. Which one's better?
California Adventure. I mean, I love both
oh,
of
between Disneyland and California Adventure, or Disneyland and Disney World?
them.
Both. I
So
was saying world and land, but
it's very hard for us to answer that question.
Mhm.
I don't know if I should be speaking for both of us. It's very hard for me to answer that question because when we went to Disneyland, we had the greatest time of our life, and we were there for like 3 days. And the whole time we just kept taking like vlogs saying the best part about moving to Disney World was coming to Disneyland for the weekend. Just because the wait times are like less than 20 minutes on every single ride. Like it doesn't even matter if you get a fast pass. And we really liked that it was smaller. It felt a lot less touristy.
Mhm.
It kind of just felt like you were in like a neighborhood park. Like that everyone was really chill. And we liked that we could really feel Walt's presence there. You could really tell that he like made
Yeah,
it
he
a
he walked around there and like
yeah.
he live in didn't he have an apartment in
Yes. So you can yeah, the apartment is like I think it's above the fire station. Is that right, Grace?
I'm not sure,
I
but
think that's where it is because there's like a light that stays on, and that's like where his apartment was.
that's so cool.
Um, but yeah, it's a very different. It's weird because it looks like Main Street USA in Disney World, but like smaller, and the colors of the buildings are a little bit more like neutral,
Mm.
and there's more trees. Like it feels more real, and then Disney World feels very much like an amusement park when you walk in it, which I thought was really interesting. But
Mhm.
Disney World's home, so
Is that how do you feel about the two, Grace?
Yeah, I feel the same. And I mean, Disneyland, the rides are better quality because it's smaller. Like they will work inwards instead of outwards. Whereas at Disney World, there's some rides that are not the best that they need to update, but they don't because they'll just add a new ride instead. But Disney World is a lot bigger and a lot like more things to do. And like I didn't finish doing everything I wanted to do at Disney World until like the very last week of my program after I'd been there 4 months. But when Kylie and I went to Disneyland, we felt like we had finished everything we wanted to do like in 2 days, you know. But it was amazing and it was better quality and more homey and like I don't know. So they're very different, you know.
Yeah.
and it's weird because, as Grace said, Disney World's way bigger. There's 4 parks at Disney World, and each one is huge. Whereas Disneyland, the entire Disneyland, could fit in the parking lot of Magic Kingdom at Disney World, which is so small. Um, but I don't know.
There's like just
That's
as many
probably
rides though, right?
yeah, and that's probably why like so many more tourists go to Disney World because they're
Yeah.
kind of getting more of a bang for their buck if they have like way more parks to go to, which is
Mhm.
why it's way more chill at Disneyland. It's more annual pass holders and like people that live there.
Is there a college program at Disneyland as well?
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
Would you ever want to do that?
I would consider it. I would probably rather do a professional internship there. The college program in general is way more known at Disney World, and it's a little bit more of like a college experience. Like you'll live in the college dorms with the other college students, and they have like college Disney parties for you and like events set up. Whereas I heard, I'm not sure, that the Disneyland college program students don't have as many like events. And I think that a lot of them have to find their own housing. It's not as like much of a program.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're a lot less in the Disney bubble, I would say. Like Disneyland, you wouldn't spend like all your time at Disney because it's just not as big. But Disney World, you know, if you go down there, you don't have a car, you're just in Disney 24/7. So, but I would consider doing the Disneyland one. It would just be a very different
Yeah.
experience.
That's a good question too, is what was it like to literally live in Disney 24/7 and did it ever get overwhelming?
I loved it. I don't think it ever got overwhelming. I even when people wanted to go other places, like go into like downtown Orlando, I was like, I would rather go to the parks and
Wow.
watch the fireworks. I don't know. I just love like I loved the environment so much, and I liked the fact that we kind of could experience something that other people couldn't. Like on our days off, we could sleep in and lay out at our pool for a couple hours. Then we would get some stuff together. Not even really. We'd grab like our phone and a water bottle and just get on the ferry to Magic Kingdom, and we would just ride a couple rides, watch the fireworks, go home. Like it was so much chiller of an like than a
Mhm.
guest would ever experience. That's what I liked about
Right.
it.
Did
Mhm.
you ever feel overwhelmed, Grace?
Um, no, because I think we were there for the perfect amount of time. Like maybe I would feel differently if we had been there like for a year, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think that, for the time that we were there for 4 months, so I didn't get tired of it. But I will say, we joked about it a lot. Like when we would go places, I'm sure Kylie remembers this. When we would go other places, we would joke about how weird it felt sometimes. Like when we went to Disneyland and we went and visited like the whole LA area, we were like, wow, we're not in Disney World. And it felt weird and it was pretty funny. Like that's how I would
But
describe it. It's
once
fun.
we got to the parks, we felt a little more safe. We were like, okay, this is what we're used to. Like,
Yeah.
we have our blue cards. We're known here. And
Mhm.
even when we went to Universal City Walk that night, we were wearing like a bunch of Mickey stuff, like just decked out. And we were like, wow, we are so out of place here. This is not Springs.
That's so funny. Yeah, I felt some type of way about having an annual, because I had an annual pass when I lived in
Mm.
Orlando. So we would go to like Epcot for dinner, and that was normal. You know, after school, we'd be like, "Does
Yeah.
anyone want to go to Epcot?" And then we'd all get in a car and go like hang out in Epcot, and eat dinner and whatnot. And I'm sure for you guys it was like 10 times that, because it was not a 30-minute car ride. It was literally however long
Yeah.
bus
Or
ride.
like when we got off of work, we would just change into our people clothes and walk out the gate to the park,
Yeah,
which is frowned upon. I'm sorry. You're supposed to go back around and check in. I didn't know that. So whatever. But it is like, it's our neighborhood. Like when I'm here in Michigan and I want to get ice cream, I'll ride my bike up the road and go to the ice cream shop that's on, you know what I mean? And there, our ice cream shop is on Main Street, USA in Magic Kingdom. That's just where we go when we feel like getting ice cream. It's not,
that's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to have something like that that's supposed to be a lavish vacation that you only get to experience for a few days become so normalized.
And
And it was
free.
so nice. Yeah, it was completely free for us to get in. And yeah, it was pretty funny and pretty cool.
I bet. Do you guys have any specific stories with guests that were stand out and that you remember in, I guess we'll start with good ways, but if you have bad ways that you want to share, that's fine too. But like you said magic moments earlier. Do you have any standout ones that you really remember, either of you?
Mm, I remember a lot of the magic moments that I would make for the guests. I was in attractions, so it was always so fast. And it was always kind of the same thing, but it was still really special. So like for example, I would give kids little treasure coins. I would say, hey, pirate, do you want a piece of treasure? And I would give that to them. And I always loved that. But a lot of like the specific memories that I have is when other cast members would give us magic moments, because you're giving magic moments all day, and there's definitely like a few that I remember specifically, but they were mostly like certain kids' faces. I remember when I gave them a coin, or like um but like when we went to Magic Kingdom for the first time, Kylie and I and a bunch of our roommates, they let us into the fast pass lane at Peter Pan because they saw that we had traditions ears on. And that still like means so much to me because Peter Pan is like one of my favorite rides.
Yeah,
And
overweight every time too.
yes, and it was just like it was so special for that to be one of our first memories at the parks on the program. So
I would agree. That was the first memory I thought of, which is funny because it was both of our first nights. It that same night we just came from Traditions, which is like a training session that you have to go through to become a cast member at Walt Disney World, no matter what your role is. And we were like running to try to make it to the fireworks, and it was like the end of the fireworks, so everyone was like, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it. And when we finally got in, there's fireworks and loud music and everyone's cheering, and we were walking in and I was like, I feel like this is for us, this is welcoming us to Walt Disney World. Like, and that's probably my favorite memory of like the entire program. That and the very last night we had a very similar experience with a bunch of magic moments. um but yeah, I'd say receiving the magical moments were my favorite moments.
I think I
And
was
also, oh, sorry.
right there for your last night when you
You were
went
there
to
the
Epcot
night
ride.
before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we had
Yeah,
two
they
days
were
left
crying so much when they went on the Avatar ride because that's a year, right? Or was it a semester?
that we were there.
Your program, yeah.
A semester.
Yeah, but that's a
Yeah.
long time. So that's got to be
It
an emotional
is.
ending,
Yeah.
And that ride is so emotional too.
Yeah. You
right?
could just, yeah,
That
that
ride.
ride.
For anybody who hasn't gone on Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom, you need to do it right now.
Honestly, that is the only ride you need to worry about going on at Disney World, in my opinion.
I agree.
That's a success if you get on that ride.
Which rides you mentioned Pirates of the Caribbean, Grace? Is that the only ride that you worked?
Yes. Well, actually, technically, I worked on two rides. There's like a little pirates scavenger hunt that we also ran that not a lot of people know about. And you can get passes to pirates if you do that, just so you know. Anyway,
Where's that?
it's like right next to Pirates, and it's just like this little shack looking building. And you go in and you get like a free Pirates map of the park, and you go around the park and you find different like areas that
What?
like statues that you'll click your magic band to and they'll kind of come to life. They're like pirate statues. It's pretty cool.
I
I
know.
didn't know this was a thing.
I
Yeah.
didn't.
And then I also did firework crowd control as well, which were my least favorite shifts, but I loved my overall attraction at Pirates, so it kind of
Gra-
balanced it out.
Grace, tell him what you and the pirates would all do during the Pirates of the Caribbean part of the fireworks.
Oh my gosh, that was my favorite moment at work when the at Pirates of the Caribbean when I would be working fast pass or like the greeter position, you had the perfect view of those fireworks. So during the little part of Happily Ever After show, when the pirate song comes on, whoever was working like with you up there, we would get like this huge pirates flag that we had and just go crazy. Like we would just like go wild and dance around with our pirates flag, and everyone who was around us was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." Like they're cheering for their ride, you know. And it was just like such like a special moment where you're like, "Yeah, I'm a pirate." Like it was just like, yeah, that was my favorite times at work.
Is
100%.
Are attraction jobs like the rides, are they what people want? I guess it's different for everybody, but I feel like that's where I'd want to go if I was signing up for the program. Is that kind of the consensus of all the college program people that they want to do rides?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty up there, but I would say the roles that people want the most are character performer, character attendant, Bippity Boppity Boutique, I would say are like the top.
What's
And
that? What's that
photo
last?
booths. Oh, Bippity Boppity Boutique.
The most magical experience ever. That's what it is.
Tell them, Kylie.
Oh no, you explain it.
It's like basically it's like dressing up little kids, like making them to princesses. It's like
Oh,
makeover.
in the castle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in Disney Springs as well, I believe, but it's kind of you remember Libby Lou? I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. It's Libby Lou, but it's Disney princess version, and
Okay.
you get to dress up really like a godmother, because you are a godmother, and they come into Bippity Boppity Boutique, and you're their fairy godmother, like giving them the makeover.
Did anybody
So
you guys know have that job?
I didn't know anyone with that job, but I saw the Bippity Boppity Boutique girls walk to the bus stop. That's another thing that's really awesome about the Disney College program. There's like these bus systems just for the college program students, just to get straight to Magic Kingdom or whatever. Like, so it's a quick route.
Yeah.
And it like it looks so funny because you get on the bus and everyone's wearing different costumes from different parks and different areas of the park. So some people are dressed up for Toy Story Land, other people are dressed up in safari outfits for Animal Kingdom,
Mhm.
other ones are dressed like pirates, and it's just a really weird image you'd never see anywhere else.
Yeah. It sounds fun. I remember when I was the first time we hung out at the park, we were on our way back, and I felt like I was in like a summer camp or something because the way you guys were talking, like, oh, and tomorrow we're gonna do, it's
Yeah,
just, it,
it definitely
it's
felt
fun
like a
like
summer
that.
camp, and we'd go to the beach on our days off, which was kind of cool, and we felt like we were like going out of the camp. I don't know, like the weekend trips or midweek trips. I don't know. Yeah,
So
it's like a summer camp.
If you had a job in the college program that you didn't like, is there anything you can do to change it, or is there any way you can choose what you want to do?
You can, when you apply, you preference your roles that you want. So, like, if you don't want a role, everyone says to put absolutely no interest in it, because even if you put low interest, you might get it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but that's like the main way that you can control it. If you're having some sort of health issue with your role, then that's really the only way that you'll be able to change it, unless you like self-term, which you could do, which is ending your program if you really don't like your role. You also have the option to do that.
And also, like, I noticed I didn't say what I wanted to do in my phone interview. They just kind of asked me different things about my resume. One of our friends, she was a greeter at, or a seater, I don't, at Be Our Guest restaurant, at Beauty and the Beast Castle.
Hmm.
And she said that on the phone interview, they did not ask her what she wanted to do, but she said, "Hey, I want to be a seater at the Be Our Guest restaurant. That is what I want to do." Whereas I didn't even know that was a role in the Disney College program. That was not listed on the list of things to do. I'd never clicked no interest, kind of interested, or most interested in that. So I think if you're really specific, you might have a chance of like getting exactly what you want.
Yeah, if you wish upon a star, it's
Yes.
true and whatnot.
But I switched roles in the middle of my program and then I switched back because of health issues. I don't know if you remember that, Nate, but I was telling you I had the
Yeah,
asthma attack. Yeah.
yeah, because you worked in the Wilderness Lodge, right? And then
Yeah.
you switched to the park.
Yeah. Then I switched to Animal Kingdom and I have a lot of outdoor allergies. So there was a lot of plants that are at Animal Kingdom that I was allergic to. And I didn't know
Gotcha.
until, yeah. And then, but they switched me back when I asked. So they're accommodating.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would you tell a person that's deciding right now whether or not they want to do? I guess COVID kind of makes it different, but pretend COVID doesn't exist. What would you tell somebody that wants to do it?
Do
What
it.
advice would you give them?
Yes, do it, and know yourself and whether you think it'd be a good fit for you, because it is a very busy schedule. But like, if it's something you know you want, like, definitely go for it.
I also think that if you're applying or auditioning for anything in the Disney College program, I think that it was the best experience ever, even though I complained about my job a lot and everybody kind of does. But I think that that's the case in any situation.
Any
You're going to
job.
go through some struggles in your job. Nobody likes to work. So it's just kind of like whatever you put into it, you'll get out because we made it an experience. I had my coworker hated it because she didn't do anything fun. She would just go to work and then she'd go home and then she'd be like, "Oh, I don't really feel like going to the parks because I was at the parks all day." And I'm like, "No, get your people clothes on and let's go on Avatar on Flight
Right.
of Passage. It's a different experience." So
Yeah, that makes sense. So what was the hardest part of the whole thing? If you had to tell, like, you need to prepare somebody, what was hard about it?
No sleep, man. No sleep for me, at least.
I slept great. I think that Grace can attest to that. But my work schedule was like 4 to midnight every day.
Mhm.
So I would come home, stay up till 2, hang out with my friends, and then I'd sleep until like noon or 2 p.m., honestly.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you are very busy. Sometimes you only get one day off. It depends on your job. Um, I think the biggest warning should be that your last like couple days, you're going to go through such emotional turmoil. Like, I don't think I've ever cried that much. And me and Grace were almost like, we were joking about it. We're like, does the Disney College program know that they're just setting us up for like abandonment from our best friends? So if that's the worst thing, then like I would say that that was the worst part was saying goodbye. So
So would you say you guys made a lot of obviously each other, but lifelong friends through it?
100%. I still keep in touch with like so many people I met down there, and especially our roommates that we had, but like other people too, like my coworkers, and we had a really big friend group down there. And yeah, that was definitely what's hard about it, but it's also cool because then you have friends from all over the world and you're like, wow, if I want to go to Arizona, I could just go stay with my friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
just
We made so many friends, and yeah, we had kind of a good unique situation. The first night, I think that all of our roommates except for our roommate Sophia auditioned for characters. So we met a bunch of people at the auditions, like way before the Disney College program even happened. So
Mhm.
we all like went resort hopping with a billion people. So then those were our friends the entire program. And then we obviously made more friends at our jobs, and so we had a very large friend group, and I would say that we're all still friends. We all still have our group messages and we visit each other. Grace came to Michigan last
Yeah,
summer
no,
and
I was just gonna bring
stayed
that
at
up.
your house. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
did you guys each audition for? I'm curious.
You do a general audition.
Oh,
So there's like a Disney College program audition. So you're forced to audition for every part. You're auditioning for fur characters, face characters, parade dancers, everything. So it's an entire day. Mine was in Ann Arbor, and then there's like rounds that you get cut. So you might be there for 2 hours, you might be there for 14 hours. So,
what were you
un-
hoping to get? Both of you.
um, I was hoping to get a parade dancer actually, which a lot of people aren't going in there for. They're trying to get like face characters. But I wouldn't mind getting a face character or even a fur character now that I know what their life is like. But when I went into the audition, I was like, I do not want a fur character. That sounds terrible. But we had a bunch of friends that were fur characters and loved it. So,
Yeah,
Grace, you can.
I just wanted to do any face role, but I really wanted to be friends with Belle, but now looking back at it, I think I would want to be friends with Anna or Alice because I feel like I look, more like those characters. But Parade as well, like I just wanted to do anything in entertainment, honestly.
Gotcha. I that brings
Sometimes we
me
kid and we tell people that we were friends with
Hmm.
certain characters, even if we weren't.
that actually brings up a question I had that leads to a series of questions about Disney World myths that if you guys want to bust or confirm.
Ooh.
And the first one is the tunnels. Everybody talks about how Disney World has tunnels underneath it, and that's how the characters get around. Is that true?
Yes. And I worked in Magic Kingdom, so I walked through the tunnels every day, but they're not actually underground. They were Disney World Magic Kingdom was built like with that tunnel system there, and the actual parks is the second floor of, you
Right.
know,
So it's not underground. That's like the biggest like
myth.
myth, I guess. But honestly, it feels like you're underground when you're under there. You can't see the daylight. So I don't really think that matters, even though they put so much emphasis on it in our traditions. But that's only in Magic Kingdom. In Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and Epcot, there's not tunnels.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
It's just
well, in Magic
around.
Kingdom you can tell because you go up that hill at the
Yeah.
myth number two, the trash that there's like it gets sucked into this big trash system. Is that true?
Some of them do, but not a lot of them. And that's only in Magic Kingdom, and it's not all the parks.
And every time that the trash compactor would be coming down the tunnels, they would play the Wally song at Magic Kingdom. And I thought it was so cute. I was like, wow.
But
Yeah.
I think it's just in like really high traffic areas, like right in front of the castle. I don't know because I didn't work at Magic Kingdom. So Grace, correct me if I'm wrong. In like Main Street, I've never seen a custodian on Main Street or in that like main area, but I have seen them take out the trash in like the side, like
Yeah,
Tomorrowland.
I can only speak for Adventureland because that's where I was. And they, like, the custodians would actually carry the trash themselves and,
Yeah. I
so.
never understood that myth because when you go there, you can literally see like the bottom of the trash cans. So,
Oh yeah, it's not all of them. I'm pretty sure it's just like a couple on Main Street, just so that if like there's fireworks or something, they don't want.
they
You're
can,
never gonna see a full trash can
right.
at
That
Disney
makes a
World.
lot of sense actually.
Yeah.
Next
Mhm.
time I go, I'll have to look. What about are the fur costumes and like Buzz Lightyear and big costumes like that, are they air conditioned?
No, that is the biggest myth. So
Yeah.
a bunch of our friends that were friends with fur characters, said, wow, I thought maybe we'd have air conditioning. That doesn't exist. There's
Mhm.
no way that they would do that. That would be just too expensive.
It'd be super
And
expensive, yeah.
they have really short shifts. Like they have like a long shift, but they'll perform for like 20 minutes and then they go take a break while their friend goes back out with a different friend
Right.
for 20 minutes. So
Way to
there's
be
like
careful.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Disney
And
man.
walk around that one a little bit.
Um, last myth, is Walt Disney frozen?
Yes. I'm just kidding. I have no idea, but we certainly make a lot of jokes about it.
Mhm.
Why do you think that's a myth?
I
I
don't
just don't
know.
feel like a conservative Christian family wouldn't give their father a proper burial. That's why.
I think it's also because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but no one knows where he's buried. So then people like to do conspiracy theories about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
I
one,
also think
And
why
how
would they
cool would
make that
that be?
public?
How cool would
Why would
that be if in like 50 years Disney comes back when we figure out how to make people live longer and he
you
changes.
know that would be really cool. That I I'm not gonna say it's totally fake because I don't know, but I hope that it is fake.
one
No.
time I was working at Pirates and a guest came up to me and said, "Be honest with me. Is Walt Disney's body buried under this ride?" And I was like, I just laughed and I said, "Not that I know of." So it's a pretty popular myth there.
And like people think that cast members would know. There's no way they would tell us that.
Yeah.
There's so many cast members.
You guys have a bunch of. Did you get questions that there's just no way you would know that people thought you might know?
Yes.
That one?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Like,
And even general questions, like someone will come up to me at the pin cart at Wilderness Lodge Resort and say, "What is the best thing on this menu at this park in this land?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Do they take reservations at this place?" But you're not allowed to say, "I don't know." So that's a cast member thing. We have these little telecast cheat sheets in our pockets,
Mhm.
but mostly it's just for your park. So when I worked at Wilderness Lodge, I had a Magic Kingdom one. So if you asked me questions about Animal Kingdom, I wouldn't know.
right.
But and then when I was at Animal Kingdom, I had a telecast just for Animal Kingdom. It almost every question that was asked to me, I didn't know the answer. If I'm going to be completely honest.
There's so much to know.
Yeah.
Grace had a really good trick. She would say, "I'm not really sure, but I can look at it for you or look into it for you." And then usually they were in such a rush, they'd be like, "No, it's fine," and then like keep going.
Yeah, they did do that. People would always come up to me though and ask, like, make suggestions, not necessarily questions, but like suggestions that I wouldn't have control over. Like they'd be like, there should be a sign here or like, whatever. And I'd be like, I agree. But I just have to say, like, yeah, and if I could tell a coordinator, I would if it was like a reasonable thing, but you don't have control over that just as a frontline cast member.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's just something you get working in customer service or a
Mhm.
customer facing job is there's gonna be things that are wrong that you have no control over or no say in and people are upset about it and you gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
But Disney does a really good job at that because I've seen some people get really mad and you guys all get, deal with it really well.
Yeah, there's a lot of mad people out there.
Yeah.
I didn't interact with a lot of them, so that was good. Probably like one person that just didn't like that we were switching to reusable bags.
Uh,
Um, that was the biggest deal. But they got over it and they got a reusable bag instead of a plastic one.
Nice. So last question, what would you say your best takeaway or best thing you learned from this whole experience was?
hmm. I would say just I feel really lucky that I had the experience, and I would say my favorite thing that I got out of it, honestly, is the friendships that I made. If I'm really thinking about it, like these people that I met are so important in my life. Like Kylie is so important in my life, and all my roommates are so important, still to this day. So I don't know what I would do without them. And I'm very grateful for that.
I would agree with that. I think that the last night of the Disney College program really solidified that when we were at Magic Kingdom crying, saying goodbye to everybody. And we went to Waffle House afterwards. And I felt like we were still having just as great of a time, even though we weren't at Disney World, we were at Waffle House. And I think that one of our friends was like, it's not the place, it's the people that were magic. So that still like resonates with me. I think that the Disney College Program friends of mine are like my nearest and dearest friends. Obviously, I have other nearest dearest friends, but I just can't believe how close I got to these people. Um, but I think that that goes about every situation in life, like whether you're doing a mission trip or working at a camp or working in a corporate office, like you can really amplify your experience and your life, like make your life a lot happier if you just really value the people that are surrounding you.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Well, cool. Thank you guys for coming on. And make sure you check out, I'm sure if you listen to this episode of the podcast, you would love Grace's Instagram, which is, Grace, you want to tell them what it is? It's Grace Neverlands, right?
Yes, Grace Neverlands. And also Kylie's Instagram as well has a lot of
and that's
I have a lot of highlights if you want to see what the Disney College programs like. Kylie Klunder, that's what it is.
And if anybody that's thinking about doing the program, again, I don't know with COVID, but in the future wants to reach out to either of you, would that be a good place to ask questions?
Yeah, for sure. I get DMs about it all the time from random people, so I'm always happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Nate.